Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome in. So, what happens when cargo is completely lost in transit? Yesterday, the world woke up to a super tragic incident in Louisville, Kentucky. A UPS cargo plane, and this is very rare. It's very rare for cargo planes to crash. But sadly and tragically, the world woke up to a UPS cargo plane that was heading from the UPS hub in Louisville, Kentucky to Hawaii, fully loaded with fuel, Jet A fuel, highly flammable. I was in the US Army. I worked, that was actually my job. I was a petroleum supply specialist in the US Army. So I worked around um, petroleum products. I worked around a lot of fuel. These Jet A fuel, highly flammable. So you guys can go online and check, go on YouTube. The NTSB is currently investigating this crash. That's the National Safety and Transportation Board, the US agency responsible for investigating plane crashes and other transportation related accidents. So this happened as the plane was taking off. The left engine, the number one engine, detached from the wing, causing the plane to flip at 185 knots. For those of you who have been following me, you know that I take classes occasionally because I'm trying to obtain my private pilot's license. So aviation is something that I am particularly interested in. Although I don't speak too much about aviation on this platform, but if you follow me, you know that occasionally here and there, when I have time, I do get up there and fly the Cessnas and all that stuff just to be able to obtain my private pilot's license. So it's a devastating event. It claimed multiple lives. There are three people on board, two pilots, and I think one technician. If you've been around cargo planes, one of the first jobs that I got when I left the US military was at a company called Mercury Aviation in Los Angeles, at the Los Angeles airport. My job was refueling cargo planes, the Kitty Hawks, the World Cargos, the Polar Air Cargos. You're talking about Boeing 747 jumbo jet, completely stripped, and literally it's like a warehouse on wheels. And when they load these things up, I mean, they get loaded up with a lot of goods, anywhere from small packages. I even saw in some cases they loaded like exotic cars in this cargo plane. So after working in that field for a while, you get to know the pilots. And depending on the distance, the destination, I mean, you're looking in this case, this was a this was a full trip. It was an 8-hour trip. So it was loaded to the brim with Jet A fuel. And it crashed shortly after takeoff. I don't even think it made it more than like 200 feet above the ground before it crashed, killing the all the souls on board. And as of today, I think the report right now is what, 12. So you have the three on board, the three souls on board, and nine others on the ground that died from this. Again, it's a complete loss. And as exporters, guys, we often talk about shipments. We talk about insurance. We talk about supply chains. We talk about getting our goods on time. But before anything else, guys, we have to acknowledge the human side of logistics and the human side of supply chain. Behind every export manifest, behind every tracking number, behind every airway bill are real people, pilots, maintenance crew, engineers, ground crew, real people. These are the people who make up the global that make global trade possible. So we got to acknowledge that. Yes, this is about more about what happens with exports or cargoes lost in transit, but I really wanted to just take that time and let you guys know that it's people that make all of this work. Real people behind the scenes that you may not see that make all of this work. So we're gonna use this tragic event as a little bit of a case study and highlight what happens when events like this happen. It's very rare to have goods, cargo lost completely in transit. It's very, very rare. It doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen often. I've been in the supply chain space now, export import space now for 23 years. And I can count on maybe three fingers. Yes, I can count on one hand in the 23 years that I've been doing this where my shipment has been completely lost in transit. Usually, they might get damaged here and there, but to have a complete loss of shipment is something that is extremely rare. So air cargo dominates modern export supply chain. This is a tragic event, very unfortunate. And my condolences goes to UPS and everybody affected. So then how does this whole thing work when you have a situation where you have a complete loss of shipment? Now, how do the freight forwarders handle it and how can obviously this wasn't a transatlantic shipment. This was US territory based. So it's probably not going to affect a lot of Nigerian exporters or international shippers, or mostly people stateside. But you know that every shipment is tied to a tracking number and is tied to an airway bill. Small packages, I mean, that's like the norm these days. Everything is tied to a tracking number. So it's going to be very easy for you or for the freight forwarder to tie your package to that aircraft. And I'll tell you guys one story. There was a time that I had um, one of my packages completely lost in I don't know if it was lost in transit or if it was lost. Well, I suppose you can say so. They lost it at the warehouse where it was going. They lost it at the actual warehouse. So it wasn't necessarily like lost. Well, you can say it's lost in transit. And I don't recall having insurance on that particular shipment. So what happened is they were able to reimburse me for, I mean, they did their research. They kind of figured, okay, we're just gonna reimburse him for the cost of the product, not the resale value, because it was a shipment that was coming in from Nigeria that got lost. So they reimbursed me for the cost of that shipment, but not the retail value. They reimbursed me in full for that. That's probably the one time I've had a shipment completely lost. Other times it's been just damage, they'll damage it here and there, and then you gotta file a claim. And depending on the carrier, it could take anywhere from 30 days to 100 and uh, probably say 30 days to 60 days. So it's about a month to 3 months before you get some sort of resolution to the problem. But right now, on the accidental side of things, the NTSB is handling that investigation. But best believe, trust me, UPS is. I mean, I've shipped UPS from Nigeria to the US. I've used FedEx, I've used DHL, I've used them all. They still value their customers. Trust me, they're probably working right now trying to identify all of the consignees behind every single package on that manifest on that cargo plane. And what's going to happen is they're going to start reaching out to people. They'll start notifying all shippers, notifying freight forwarders who may then notify their customers on next steps, which usually just involves tying every shipment there to a person, to a customer, and then they'll begin the process of reimbursing that customer. In some cases, it may be a full reimbursement. If you're shipping something like, let's say, a car, and you have full coverage on that car, the insurance company can cover the full loss of that vehicle and replace it. And I'm telling you, I mean, I worked in that space, in that air cargo space for about 2 to 3 years. And I've seen them literally transport any and everything from cars to horses to cattle to pets. Unfortunately, at this point, we don't know the manifest. We don't know what's inside. But I can almost guarantee you there's probably some sort of like live animals in that cargo plane that also went down. It's a very, very tragic event. Very, very unfortunate. But cargo accidents, very, very rare. So when they're submitting all of these things, as far as like your insurance goes, they're gonna want to know the value of the product, the proof of value of the product. All of this is going to go into your reimbursement. But rest assured, you may not get 100% reimbursement on this complete loss of shipment, but you will get you will get reimbursement that you will be happy with. It may not be 100% depending on the product. And it also depends if you also purchased insurance or not. Okay, so there really isn't much to say, on this topic. As we reflect on this tragedy, guys. We must all also remember, goods can be replaced, lives cannot. Think about that too. When you're in the process of filing your claims, obviously you want to be made whole, but lives were lost in this process. I mean, if you go and look at the damage, like the crash itself, I think they said it was about what, half a mile long. You're looking at something that's going at 200 miles per hour, filled with Jet A fuel. Yeah, it was like a bomb went off. That was how bad it was. So my condolences to UPS, to the families affected. I mean, I'm in aviation in my own little way. I know how risky it could be, but it's also a very fun, I guess, hobby for me. I'm doing it more on a smaller scale. I mean, I practice and I train on my own little Cessna, you know, aircraft. So aviation is Aviation is a fun sector to be in, and my heart just goes off to to these people because I've walked around a lot of pilots. They're good people, but when incidents like this happen, it just makes you pause for a second and kind of connects you to the human side of things because it's not always about products and exports and shipments and paperwork and insurance. People are involved. Okay, so let's keep everyone affected in our thoughts. Let's also continue to build a safer, smarter export systems and protect both people and products. My name is Richard Barricat. Thank you for joining. If you're watching for the first time, visit my website, barricat.com. Stay prepared, stay focused, and let's stay human. So thank you all. Like, share, and comments. If you're interested in anything US Nigeria business, exports, investments, this is the platform you want to be on. We have over 600 videos covering mostly topics on business. Occasionally, we talk about things that are a little bit off topic, just to be able to have the human side. Because not always all the time where everything has to be business related. So sometimes we go off topic a little bit and we talk about current events. But a huge percentage of our content is based on US Nigeria business, investments, trade, exports, stocks, most recently. So yeah, check us out. Be sure to like, share, and comment, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.